This is Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.
This broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, is being made possible by Hood Canal Communications, committed to providing quality services that exceed customer expectations in voice, video, data, and customer service, keeping our community connected since 1934. Mason County Public Health and Human Services Prevention Education Partners Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, helping provide prescription drug take-back boxes in Mason County and providing lockable bags for your prescription drugs, cannabis, and vape products. Mason County PUD 3, connecting our community with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. The Conklin team at Windermere Real Estate. When it comes to real estate, nothing compares to local knowledge. And Mason Health, united community, empowered people, exceptional health.
My name is Kevin Shutty. I am a county commissioner here in Mason County, but I'm also an adjunct faculty member here at Olympic College. I teach American and state and local government, and so this is my first time in this role. Been in their seats before. And so I'll let you know afterwards which side I like better. But I do appreciate everybody taking their time to come out this evening to spend the evening with us. I want to first ask everybody to silence their cell phones or any other electronic devices that they might have. We want to make sure that we have a respectful forum this evening. And to keep any kind of applause, any kind of back and forth amongst the crowd to a minimum. Of course, there will be no heckling of any kind permitted throughout the evening. I definitely feel like I'm back in front of my class. I make those same announcements there. Usually they're there to heckle me, but that's okay. I also just want to thank Olympic College for hosting the event, or allowing us to use this event space tonight for this event. As well as Dedrick Allen from Mason Web TV for recording and potentially streaming tonight's event. We're going to do our best, but we're excited to be here this evening. Our forum tonight will have an opportunity for some fixed questions that were prepared in advance by members of the Mason County Republican Party, but there's also an opportunity for members of the audience to fill out any questions that they might have. And so if you didn't have a chance to fill a question out when you walked in the door, Melissa, how can we get people cards if they are Leslie? And raise your hand if you have the cards for questions. Are they still back there with Becky? Okay, we'll just assume that they're back there with Becky. Right. There's still an delivered to me later on in the evening, and we'll walk through the questions that they have prepared. We'll begin with a 2-minute introduction for each candidate. We began with a coin flip. Dave Stevens won the coin flip, so he will start with us first. Then we'll go through those 6 questions, each with a 90-second reply. Then we'll go through our audience Q&A, and then we'll have a 3-minute closing, 3 minutes for closing statements. Terry up front here will be keeping time, so keep an eye on Terry. If you get close to time, as a cowbell. So if you hear that, that's enough, okay? All right, perfect. We will begin tonight with introductions, and Dave, I will turn it over to you for your 2 minutes.
Oh, I don't get the podium. Well, I too would like to thank the Mason County Republicans and Olympic College for putting on this event. I'm Dave Stevens. I'm running to be your Superior Court judge. Currently, I'm a senior felony prosecutor with the Mason County Prosecuting Attorney's Office and a judge with the Northwest Intertribal Court System. I'm running because I'm concerned about our community. I want to make sure that you and the victims are protected. The Washington Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs of Police recently released their violent crime statistics. They're up. Property crime is up. Vehicle thefts are up. Why? Part of it is COVID. When COVID was in effect, the jails weren't able to take too many people unless they're incredibly dangerous. So a lot of criminals were released. And when these people were out, given their criminal histories, their warrant histories, they didn't show up for court, and they continued to commit crimes. Now, a judge's job is to protect a defendant's rights and to protect the community. I believe that what's happening after COVID is done, because the crime rates are still going up in all these counties in Washington, is that we're still not holding defendants accountable. People with extensive warrant histories, people with criminal histories are committing crimes, and they're endangering you and your families. My family lives here. My grandchildren live here. I want this community to be protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Your turn.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I am before you as one of the 3 Superior Court judges here in Mason County, and I'm campaigning to continue in that role. Over the last few months, you have heard some untruths, half-truths, and misinformation about me and who I am and why I'm here. And so today I get an opportunity to tell you who I am and why I am here. You see, I don't take my job lightly. And so I will not pander to you to try to win your votes, then act differently once I'm on the bench and wearing my robe. That's not who I am. I will tell you every time you see me that at my core is the desire to be fair and impartial. That at my core, I am a devoted mother and a wife, and I enjoy every opportunity to be with my family. At my core, I am a small town girl who grew up on a farm and know what it means to have safe and healthy communities. At my core, I am the judge who was appointed after a strenuous application process, after the Mason County Bar Association recommended me, after many judges and attorneys wrote letters of references on my behalf. That is why I was appointed, and not my opponent who also applied. I will tell you that it is important to me that everyone, not just some people, everyone who comes before me in court will be treated fairly, will be respected, and will have justice served. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you both. Mr. Stevens, we'll begin with the first question to you. And that first question is, do you support the use of such things as drug courts, veterans courts, and family courts? And why do you feel these are beneficial or not beneficial to our community?
The main goal of the criminal justice system is somebody has committed a behavior that we don't tolerate. The legislature has passed a law making it a crime. What we want to do is we want to stop that offending behavior. Now, sometimes we stop that offending behavior because on their criminal history, they've shown that no matter what we do, they're going to continue to commit crimes. So we have to send them to jail or we have to send them to prison. Now, if there's something else that will stop that, if we can get an alternative, do they need treatment? Do they need therapy? Is there something particular about them that we can do to stop the offending behavior? I'm always in support of that. If you were to look at my caseload, how it's been handled, you would see that I refer a lot of cases. As long as they qualify for these programs, I am more than happy to make sure that they get the help they need. But we have to be safe, and they have to stop the offending behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ferguson-Brown?
Thank you. Therapeutic courts, like the ones you mentioned, are tools that are used by judges. These tools enable us to allow for those who are qualified to not only be held responsible for the crime that they were convicted of or that they pled to, but also to rehabilitate them so that they can now become good members contributing to our society. And so therapeutic courts is part of what judges have as a tool when they are looking at sentencing. The question was, do I support it? I, as a judge, have to follow the rules. And it is part of our rules, it's part of our laws to apply alternative sentencing like therapeutic courts. And I have seen where it has been effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Stevens, is do you feel that justice is better served by mandatory sentencing or discretionary rulings for violent crimes? Please explain how each can impact both the community and the defendant.
When we talk about mandatory sentencing for felonies, the way it's set up is we have a ranking of offenses. So right up there is things like murder, rape, things like that. Then we have the offender criminal history. Now the legislature decides sentencing, not the judges. Judges have discretion within the bounds set by the legislature, and they can look at that. So if you have, say you commit a theft second degree and you have 9 prior felonies, you're range 22 to 29 months. So the judge within that range, if there's not an alternative sentence, can set the sentence. I think that the legislature felt that they wanted to make sure the judges gave equal sentences. It was in the 80s that the Sentencing Reform Act was passed, and that's what they wanted, and they're the ones in charge of that. Judges apply the law. They don't make the law.
Ms. Ferguson-Brown?
Could you please repeat that question?
Sure, absolutely. The question is, do you feel that justice is better served by mandatory sentencing or discretionary rulings for violent crimes? Please explain how each could impact both the community and the defendant.
Okay. So, again, Mr. Stevens mentioned just now, the judges are not the ones who set the law. The judges, our role is to interpret and apply the law. Our legislature has set the sentencing guidelines, and that is what we use. Justice is served by us following the law, by us upholding the Constitution. Justice is served when procedurally everyone who comes into court leave there feeling as if they had a fair chance, whether or not they got the decision they were looking for. Justice is people who have been convicted of a crime responsible for that crime. Justice is served whenever we have people who were given an opportunity to rehabilitate and get back out into our community and contribute to our community. So it's not just about the sentencing, it's about the process. And justice is served when we have a fair process.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Stevens, the next question is, do you believe that our court system is working effectively, or do you believe the civil or criminal justice system is breaking down? What is working well or not well, specifically here in Mason County?
The justice system, as it's designed, is actually working well. It didn't just come about sua sponte, all by itself. It was crafted over literally hundreds of years. Our criminal justice system, you could trace it all the way back to the Roman Empire, the common law of King England, and now our legislature. So I believe that the justice system itself works, but it depends on competent and qualified judges applying that law. I have grave concerns as to whether or not that's happening in some cases in Mason County. Think of Nicholas McClure, who was let out by my opponent, and the very next day went and set fires. He tried to burn down the Shelton Inn. He put people's lives at risk. He caused tens of thousands of dollars of damage to the nifty thrifty. So I have grave concerns as to whether or not the justice system, when the judge applies it, is actually working. But the justice system itself, I have nothing but complete faith in. I've been doing this for decades.
System doesn't just include criminal law. It also have a civil side. And so there are many aspects of the justice system. And the justice system, if we look at it on a big court, it also includes law enforcement, has to work together. It's a very complex, some part of the system has to do with the executive branch, like law enforcement. Law enforcement is to protect the community. Judges are to ensure talking about and saying, I did this or I didn't. But let us be clear.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Stevens. Which factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants, and what do you believe the primary consideration should be when considering this decision?
There's two parts of it. You have to protect the defendant's rights. They are presumed innocent. So a judge, when someone is first arrested, they come before the court, the judge has to make a probable cause finding. So law enforcement, when they arrest somebody, will file what's called a probable cause affidavit. That'll give you a bare bones facts as to what it's alleged the defendant has done. Then you look at the defendant's criminal history. Has he committed or she committed similar crimes in the past? So if it's a domestic violence case, you look at whether or not they have any domestic violence convictions. That goes to whether or not there's safety of the victim, the safety of the community. Next, you look at their warrant history. How many times have they gone before courts and been ordered to appear and failed to appear, and we had to go out and find them? That's bad for them. That's bad for the victims. It puts the community safety at risk, and justice does not get served. It will take forever to get those cases, and I see that every single day. So you look at those, whether or not somebody's a flight risk, whether they'll reappear. You look at whether or not they're a danger. A no contact order is not going to protect a victim. It will penalize them if they violate it. The thing is when somebody has an extensive criminal history, an extensive warrant history, then you might set bail at a higher amount. Or if they've committed a serious crime like Chantel Peterson did, you look at the safety of the victim and the community and you set a high bail.
Thank you. Ms. Ferguson-Brown?
Thank you. So bail and bail amounts, that's part of a, whether or not the person, whether or not it has been proven that the accused is gonna commit a violent crime in the community, fail to appear to future hearings, or will interfere with the witnesses or administration of justice. You have to take these things into consideration if you're going to set any form of pretrial condition, right? And a bail is a pretrial condition. So when we accused coming before us at pretrial, which is at the beginning of a matter, we have to, the Constitution says that this person is presumed innocent. When someone is presumed innocent, then we have a presumption of release. A presumption of release is always what we start with. Now, the prosecutor needs to provide to the court reasons why this presumption of release should not be upheld. If the prosecutor provides a criminal history that says this person is a criminal, has a criminal background, this person has many warrants out because they won't show up for hearings, that's when we start determining whether or not and how much.
Thank you. Our next question is, what injustices, Mr. Stevens, you can start.
Well, uniquely, a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I've been a chief public defender. I've been a private defense attorney. I'm also a judge. Paid $206 taking that case because Gail Gerlach didn't have the money to pay for a private defense attorney. It would have been an injustice had he been convicted. So I've seen injustices in the system. Now, as a prosecutor, when I see an injustice, when somebody's been charged, and I've had cases where somebody's been charged
for incarcerated, unable to meet the bail. He was incarcerated for 48 months, paid for himself because of his disability. And that's one of the reasons why.
Next question.